Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Georgimon and I'm your friendly neighborhood anime and manga fan. I love all things anime and all things manga, and I'm here today to talk about Chainsaw Man chapter 202. So, what did you think about this week's chapter? To be frank, I thought this week's chapter was very fast. I think I read this in less than 2 minutes. I was like, yo, speed running through it because it was a very simplistic yet effective chapter in setting up the conflict that Denji's about to face in the next chapter, which seems to be pretty much regarding the Chainsaw Man Church followers as well as the fake Chainsaw Man, which I can't wait to get to. Now, before I go any further with this chapter review, I just want to give you guys a quick reminder to make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you guys can be up to date with all my anime and manga, as well as all my Chainsaw Man content that I'll be providing in this channel. It really helps out a lot, and I would really appreciate it if you guys could subscribe to my YouTube channel. So if you guys could, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get into this week's chapter. So this week's chapter starts off where we left off last time, which was the cliffhanger of it seemed like Yoru and Denji were about to fight. There was a little bit of a conflict between them because we did see that Yoru blasted a civilian, so that obviously did not sit well with Denji, and that's what the chapter starts off with. There's some tension to it, and then you see Yoru's kind of like, hey, are you mad at me? And you see that Denji's looking at her, and at this point I was thinking, oh man, is this gonna go are they about to fight? Is Denji about to be outnumbered because you have the fake Chainsaw Man and Yoru teaming up against Denji? What's gonna go down? But in reality, it was all a masterful plan from Yoru and Denji's part. Well, we see that pretty much as soon as it looks like she's gonna attack the Denji, she actually aims her finger and bangs. Pause. Hold on. She actually uses her bang attack at the fake Chainsaw Man, and the fake Chainsaw Man avoids it, and he's like, well, so you guys planned from the beginning to argue with each other and fake me out. And then we see that Denji actually responds like, nah, actually she's just crazy, yeah, she's just nuts. And you see that Yoru's like, okay, listen, it's getting cold, I want to go home, so I'm trying to finish this ASAP. And we see that she proceeds to start firing shots at the fake Chainsaw Man, but the fake Chainsaw Man he eventually does get actually cut by Denji as he's avoiding the attacks from Yoru. And Denji cuts up an arm of his, and Denji puts in that work. And as all that is happening, we see that eventually there's a moment in where the fake Chainsaw Man kind of goes to the floor, and we see that pretty much Yoru's like, okay, we can finish it now. And the fake Chainsaw Man's like, haha, so you have no problem attacking me, but what about this? And we see that as Yoru goes for a killing blow, apparently a civilian jumps in the way and just explodes all over the fake Chainsaw Man. So he's using these civilians as pretty much shields, human shields, tanking the attack of Yoru. And we see that after that he pretty much says listen, you might think that you guys got me, but in reality you don't. And this is where we see a bunch of people surrounding the fake Chainsaw Man, and we see that they start kind of hugging on him. And well, what happens is that they're literally combining themselves to it, and they're becoming pawns / a fusion. They're all fusing with his anatomy. Anatomy, is that what it's called? Pretty much they all are becoming one with him. He's kind of sucking them in and fusing them to his own being. And these are all, very important thing, these are all apparently Chainsaw Man followers from the church, because they all have the Chainsaw Man coming out of their head. So it seems like the plan from the get-go was to get all these followers so they could pretty much become unlimited lives to this fake Chainsaw Man. At least that's how I perceived it, because it's giving me a lot of vibes with Makima with her contract. How they made the contract where that Makima takes damage, some random civilian from Japan actually does that, takes the damage for her. It's similar in that regard, but more in the sense that as long as there's fake Chainsaw Man civilians around, he can just kind of heal himself and have a healing factor. At least that's what I'm taking from this interpretation. And what happens pretty much is that he kind of fuses with them, and this is where he tells Denji listen, you said that you're fine with civilians, I guess, dying, whatever, but what about your people that bow to you and asking you for help, all these people that look at you as as a savior? Could you actually attack them? And this is where we see that the fake Chainsaw Man proceeds to start attacking Denji, and Denji's just avoiding these hits. But while he's doing that, we also see that the poor innocent people are being hurt. And this was very sad, because you see with these people being please save me, save me, save me, and you see Denji just being pissed. I was like, God, you bastard. And that's how the chapter ended. Like I said, it was a very fast chapter, but I thought it did a great job at showcasing a new power that the fake Chainsaw Man has been, withholding from us this entire time. Because I was thinking to myself, like, okay, what are these powers that he can do? Because obviously I didn't think the fight was over, like, especially when he keeps getting sliced by Denji. But now we do get to know that, he has this secret technique or a secret ace he had his secret ace was pretty much all the Chainsaw Man followers. And I don't even know the exact number that they have. Maybe they stated it earlier in the story. I completely forgot. It's been a while since they've been kind of relevant. But we do know that there's a lot of people that were pretty much contracted with the whole fake, the Chainsaw Man, fraud, church thing, the whole thing with the Death Devil and everything. So I'm wondering, like, okay, is Denji gonna have to fight this fake Chainsaw Man over and over and over and over again? Or what's the deal with that? Also, the Famine Devil, where's she at? Because she hasn't like really done anything. I think she hasn't really joined the fight just yet. So I'm curious to see how she will fare against pretty much Yoru and Denji. Well, I know from what we have been showcased of her, she seems to be a very weak individual. However, not all things are what they seem. For all we know, maybe she maybe she was caught off guard by the Death Devil and she really wasn't able to showcase her full abilities. But like I said, there's a lot of elements out there. We still have Fami, the Death Devil, just roaming around in the background that she has not even stepped into the fight just yet. And I'm wondering, like, okay, let's say Denji does defeat this fake Chainsaw Man. What comes of it? What comes next? Does the Death Devil just make her move now, or does the Falling Devil, take pursuit and start fighting them as well? Because the Falling Devil did try to attack them, and that's how we got to the last chapter where Denji's moving all over the place, and we see that pretty much the whole Falling Devil, attacking both Asa and Yoru. So I'm wondering, like, okay, what's gonna go down? Because there's many elements out there. I'm also curious to see what Yoshida is gonna do going forward, because like I said, we have not seen Yoshida in a while, and now my big concern is, did Yoshida get play along like the rest of everyone, thinking that was the Famine Devil, or did he actually know that was like the Death Devil all along? Because we do know that Yoshida has always brought up the concept of death. He's always brought up, like, what if the Chainsaw Man defeated death or something like that? So I'm wondering, is he in cahoots with Fami herself, or what's his deal? Did he know too much as well, or was he just like played along like everyone else? Did he just like fall for her tricks like anybody else? I mean, it could go either way, because honestly, Yoshida, from the way he's been presented for the majority of the story, he seems to be, sometimes he's like 1 million IQ guy, like 20 steps ahead, and the other one, another couple of chapters later, he's actually a buffoon. But that's similar to like the public safety. Sometimes they're very confident and very they can carry themselves in such a manner that they're actually very intelligent, and they can actually get stuff done, and sometimes they just like seem like fodder that are just like buffoons, in all honesty. So I'm very curious to see more of them. But yeah, I think this chapter did a great job at setting up pretty much the continuation of the fight, elevating the stakes, and putting us in a conflict where Denji has to attack innocent civilians that actually look up to him to save them. I'm sure Yoru does not care about that, so she's probably just gonna keep spamming her bang attack. But Denji might be, like, what are you doing? Because we do know that at least Denji was not fond of her attacking an innocent civilian. And that even states in this chapter. Does he seem very stressed about it? Not really, but I feel like it might be something that, they're plotting the seeds for the eventual confrontation between Yoru and Denji. Because, like I've said in many chapters, I have said from a while now that I think that Yoru might actually end up being the final villain of the story. I could be wrong, I could be correct. Who knows? Fujimoto is the only one that knows. But yeah, with all that being said, what did you guys think about this week's chapter? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys thought it was alright? What did you guys thought? Let me know in the comment section down below. Also, thank you so much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more Chainsaw Man, as well as more anime and manga content in the near future. But yeah, with all that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.